this privilege walk bullshit. Now, I have no doubt that there's an academic who points to another academic who points to another academic who points to another epidemic, and sort of like human centipede, this whole thing connects us but making perfect sense. It's junk science. It's stuff that used to happen on daytime talk shows to impress Oprah that there was racism, okay? But the idea that people who are working for the Governor-General need to take one step forward and one step back depending on whether they catch the bus to work or whether they're right-handed or whether they've got this colour skin. Because ultimately what ends up happening is that the most normal person becomes the one at the front of the room who gets shamed by everyone else. Bronwyn, how did we get there? Here, where this crap, if it happens at a uni, fine, that's their world. If it happens but the fact that this gets mainstreamed to government, it gets mainstreamed to the head of, part of the absolute head of our system.
There's been a very stiff conversation with the Governor-General, and people have to call it out. I cannot believe that story. When I read it, I thought someone's made this up. Look, I'm proud of my country. I'm proud of my culture. I know the Australian people are proud of their culture and proud of their country. And they're fed up with it too. And if we just let it pass by and don't comment on it and say this has got to stop, then it will continue. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. The old thing is true. So the Governor-General, who really is in the singularly most privileged and powerful position in the land, has all that, but at the end of the day, he is still our servant. He's the servant of the people. Listen to the people who are proud of their culture and their country, and stop trying to make them ashamed of what a beautiful country this is. Yeah. Time to stop now.
Yeah, Barnaby, look, I understand that, you know, this is a wonderful idea, and because it's a wonderful idea, nobody's allowed to say no to it, but it's bullshit. It's junk science. What is the point of the exercise? Is the point of the exercise that people smart enough to work for the Governor-General are simultaneously stupid enough to not understand that there is disadvantage in our communities?
It's a guilt ritual. That's what it is. It's a guilt ritual and purposeless. I don't believe even the people doing it. They'd be just sort of, well, not all of them. Some of them would be trying to work out how they could take more steps backward because, you know, that they think that's the moral thing to do. And this is what's so weird about it. You got to feel guilty for being lucky. Australia's a lucky country. You know what I want a sprint. I want to sprint and get to the front of that queue and turn around and say, what an incredible country this is. And if you just open the gate, I'll keep sprinting out your damn gate and never come back. You know, who dreams these things up? I heard about it for the start because I didn't really pay much attention because it's just sort of, it says lefty rubbish. And it shouldn't be enforced, especially in the Governor-General's residence. I thought they had to do a special type of walk. And I thought, oh, well, that's bat poo mad. That makes sense. That's
like the silly walk from
silly walk.
Monty Python.
Yeah, you got to do a silly walk and feel ashamed of yourself and do it in front of a crowd of people. Maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's next. But this guilt rituals they enforce on people. And I have to agree that, you know, the Governor-General is a nice bloke, but a good fella, but he should reflect on the fact that he's also there by reason of the taxpayer, both in his role in as head of defence, both as Governor of New South Wales and now the Governor-General. And we don't want to be... The role of the Governor-General is not to preach to us. The role of the Governor-General is to act in a sort of an official way, basically, to be quite frank, sterile from the nuances that are played out by the Greens or by the radical left, or if you had it, by the radical right. And don't feel guilty about your country. If there's going to be a walk, make it a sprint and say, aren't I lucky that I live in this country and I'm not going to feel guilty about anything.
Yeah, Sam, the people who work in and around the Governor-General's office, and this is what I found even more particularly odd about this exercise in that office, right, is that, yes, for all of the times that we see the Governor-General signing in a new Prime Minister or a new Minister, most of their time that they spend is ending up hosting functions for groups that would include a whole bunch of charity people, a whole bunch of people with stories of their disadvantage or overcoming their disadvantage. I don't believe that this is an insular bubble that doesn't understand how the other half live.
No, sure. Look, I'm sorry. I hear what Barnaby and Bronwyn and yourself are saying. I just can't get worked up about it. You know, we all know how these things came about. You know,
Just kiss the ring.
No, come on. you know, someone called in some group to facilitate some session, and I don't think it's about, you know, people feeling guilty or ashamed or anything. I just think it's, I guess, I mean, never having done this thing, I assumed it's trying to make people feel aware of, you know, their natural head starts in life. I think that's all.
But, Bronwyn, how do they not know these people host endless functions for people who work for the non-government sector the whole time?
Paul, there's nothing accidental about it. And what Sam is saying is part of the real problem. It does matter. It really does matter,
Does
Sam.
it, like, in the whole scheme of things, Bronwyn?
Yes,
about,
it does.
You know, debt
and the
is over $1 trillion.
Come on, Sam,
We've got 7% unemployment, and we're worrying about the Governor
We're worried about not having people self-destruct,
Come on.
No.
We're worried about people not self-destructing and having pride in their nation, not undermining the nation.
You can't let this.
And the fact that you don't care about it just is one of the problems about the socialist left.
Sorry, Bronwyn, that's rubbish that I don't care about. That's just rubbish.
It's thin edge of the wedge rituals too. You always say they start off and then once it works, they say, well, why didn't we do it next year? Why don't we do it twice a year? Why don't we do it every time we get to work? You know, it's. I just think that if you want to know about your privilege, and you are privileged, you are so privileged to live in Australia. You won the lottery being born in this country.
Absolutely.
But you know what? We know it. We don't need to go for a walk out in the tarmac to gather that, and we don't need to feel guilty about it. If you want to do something positive, say, how do you make the world a better place? How are you going to be a positive influence in the world? And I don't think you need to go walk out the tarmac for that. You just live your life so as to help other people. But you know, what is the purpose? It's so they've got a convener in to do it. I mean, how mindless is that? When you're going to get someone in to start this sort of ritual about the bleeding obvious that you know you're a fortunate person because you're born in Australia, have an education, and God bless you, you work for the Governor General. Could you get a better job? I mean, good on you.
Yeah. Look, it's this thing where, look, of course, Sam, is there always something more important? Insert emotive cause, insert political thing. Yeah, okay, I get it. But it's the small examples that are an insight into the bigger thinking. And the bigger thinking is that there's always something wrong that must be corrected. And the thing that's something wrong is us. That's just own it. I'm not saying that's your position, but the idea behind this sort of stuff is that everyone who's currently in a position of power is the problem. Please get out of the way so a whole new group of people can take over.
And have the power and the influence and the privilege.
Again,
and the whole thing is they want to destroy what we've got, Sam.
What a way to win an election. Don't even
so
have
you
to
can
run.
build your utopia.
Right.
That's what socialism is all about.